Hello everyone again. My name is Concy, as most of you now know. And what Jude was talking about is actually this association that was founded in 2016. I think I've been speaking to some of you people here, and to begin with, 2016 is a very, very long time to actually even thinking of forming an association. What has been happening here in Sweden, I moved to Sweden when I was 10 years old, and that was during 1982, to be correct. And when I turned 18, I had to move from the children department to the adult department, which was, during that time, they didn't know that much about sickle cell. Because when I moved to Sweden, my first interaction with the hospital was I got sick. I came during winter time, and being a sickle cell patient, we don't like the cold weather, or our body don't like the cold weather. So I was rushed into the hospital. I didn't know the language, and I was in the hospital for 1 month during the 80s. So growing up, turning 18, moving from the children to the adult department, by now I knew the language. I started asking around, do we have any association here in Sweden? Are there other people who have the same disease with me as mine? The doctors and the nurses was always telling me, no, we don't. It's actually only you, or you are just a few people here. And in my head, because I'm kind of a bit stubborn, or I don't say yes to everything that everyone tells me. I think Andrula knows that. So what happened then, they gave me information to look for in different countries like US, England, and even France. But I always kept telling them, I don't speak French, but I'll do my best. So it kept on going on until 2016 or 15. Then I spoke to one of my doctors and asked him, what can I do, or what should we do to be able to start an association? Then he told me, the best thing you can do is write a letter and leave it in the hospital, which I did. I wrote a letter telling the other patient that we need an association because the treatment or whatever we are getting in Sweden, it's not enough. We need more. And we had a meeting in 2016, and that was, we were 10 patients, 5 Thalassaemia patients, and the rest was sickle cell patient. So 2016, everything came to place. I was so happy, and the other one was so happy as well, because then they said, oh, finally I have a sister, or I have a brother, someone who looks like me, or someone who feels the same thing that I feel when I'm in pain, someone who is, that I can rely on if I go into the hospital. So, how do I? So there we go. So we have since grown as members. So we are all over the country. And it's kind of sad to have members all over the country because we can't interact as the way I wish we could. But at the same time, it's good just knowing that you have someone, or there are some people out there that thinks of you and care for you. We have started Facebook group, Instagram. The social channel is really, really good, and it's easier to connect. Or if being the president or the head person in the association, I get a lot of calls. The patients can call me anytime. That is my own, I took it on myself. I said, you can call me anytime, whether you want to discuss or just you are in the hospital and no one is listening to me, give me a call, because I still have the power. Or in my head, I think I have a lot of power anyway. So a lot of patients, they call me when they're in the hospital and being mistreated. They are not getting the right treatment they are supposed to have. So after calling me and me discussing with either a nurse or the treating doctor, It normally takes 3 or 4 hours. They call back to me and say, everything is fine now. And then for me, it's the best hours or day it becomes like that. So having contact with Tiff, actually I met Tiff in 2018 the first time. Then I met George Constances, who is not here, and Dr. Michael. So, and it was a very interesting meeting because I've heard about Tiff. I've seen Andrula's presentation for many years. And in my head also I was thinking, when is this lady going to come to Sweden? I was so happy when she came 2019. And we had a meeting together with the Swedish Blood Cancer Association. So from that day, we decided to have a collaboration, us in the chronic blood disease, KBS. So we had that meeting and it went on well. So afterwards, we went on with, I only had contact with the Blood Cancer Association head person there for maybe 3 or 4 months. Then we decided to look for funds, which we did. So we looked for funds in the general heritage funds, which we got later on. Also, what we do in KBS, we do a lot of lectures. We travel around the country. We have also been outside the country, holding lectures for students, which becoming doctors, becoming nurses. For us, that is very important to put kind of the tools in their hands saying, we are the patient. When you're finished as a doctor, you should know that we are out there. So it's good for you to understand that this is how we feel. So I was in Riga 2019 and held a conference, kind of a meeting for 100 students. And they know much more about sickle cell and thalassemia in that country. So after having that presentation, a few students came to me and said, this was the best. We always listen to the doctors, but they don't know how you patients feel. And I was so happy, and I took everything with me back to Sweden. So we sat down as a group and discussed and said, we should focus more on having this type of lectures, going out, teaching. In the beginning, doctors here in Sweden, they didn't like the idea of us patients going out talking to doctors. Because what one of my doctors said, he said in the beginning, no, I don't think it's a good idea. Then I told him, you know what, you don't have the disease. What you do most of the time, you sit in front of a book and you have to try to figure out what a patient needs. And if you get it from a patient, the patient will tell you everything more clearly. So for me, working with this association, I've done it since the start and I'm still there. It feels like nobody wants to push me down, but eventually I will be pushed down. So what we do at KBS is we give the support to patients who has thalassemia and sickle cell. And what we also do is we try to give them, as patient, most patients, they think that just because they are patient, they know everything about the disease, which I always say it's not true. As a patient, you also have to teach. I mean, you have to learn, or you need to sit down and read those books, read those articles. You have to educate yourself in order to become a better patient. And if you have those knowledge, it's easier for you to go to your doctor and give that information and say, this is how I feel. This is, I've read about this, or I've seen this article. Can we try it on me? And yeah, it's going to make it easier, or at least you know what you're talking about so that you are not just talking as a patient. So I'm just going to flip on, so that's it. So in 2019, we got the government fundings, which we have been working on with now for 2.5 years. And the project, it's called You Are Not Alone. only because we feel that as a sickle cell patient and thalassemia patient, you always feel that you are alone. There's nobody, especially here in Sweden, not having any community or people around you who understand what you go through. So you feel left out. And there's a lot of stigma within these diseases. So people, I've met a lot of mothers and fathers who says, I don't want people to know that my daughter or my son has this disease, which for me, I normally first, in the beginning, I became very angry and annoyed, but nowadays I say, I understand, but in order for your daughter or your son to have a better care, you need to talk out. You don't have to show them the world, but you need to encourage your children and even the parents, because mostly it's the parents who are worried. The kids, they really don't care. They just feel that they are different, but nothing more from that. So with the project, we have been, as I said, we have Instagram and we have Facebook, and we also have our web page. You find a lot of information there, and everyone is welcome to become members. But first of all, we work with the patient. But if you're interested in our cause, you're welcome to become a member. And we have a lot of parents and friends who are members in KBS. And with this project, you are not alone. We have also been working with Tobias-registret. It's actually a register for stem cell here in Sweden. And we are working together with the rare diseases here in Stockholm. And we work together with Stockholm Blood Cell Center. We have been trying, or we are still promoting for many more people who have foreign or immigrants who have been living here for many years and who have just recently came to Sweden to become blood donor or stem cell donor as well, which is very important because having this disease, as everyone knows now, we need a lot of blood. And within the sickle cell community, a lot of people do blood exchange instead of blood transfusion. So instead of 1 or 2 units, they probably need up to 13 or 14 unit bags of blood, which is a lot. And yesterday I was talking to the lady from Norway, and she was saying it's not easy to find blood for people from, who are not born in this country. But at the same time, I've been having this discussion with the Stockholm Blood Center for almost, actually I took contact with them before even forming an association. This was 2013. So things are not really moving that fast in this area of field. So I had the discussion with them, and we went out and did a few advertisement, short film, just to gather more people so that they'll become a donor. So the work is in still progress. Everything is not easy, even though I always go with a smile on my face and so on. But we meet a lot of struggle, and there's a lot of people saying, I've heard so many negative things saying that this is not normal in Sweden. But then I say, well, Sweden has a lot of immigrants, and it's not only the immigrants now, the immigrants also have their children here, and the children's immigrants are also going to have children here. So we have to accept that this is how the society looks. We are moving around all over, so we can't just sit and say this is not a Swedish problem. So, but for me, having this association and also having perfect, a really, really nice patient as Jude, and we have many more patients. It's like having the conversation we do, because everything nowadays happens on the social media. So we have our own private, only for the patient side, where we discuss a lot of things. So if anything happens, everyone can go in there as patient and read it. But also, We have the parents group for the younger children who have not turned 18 yet. And yesterday, Dr. Ulf Tegård was talking about a smaller group for younger patients that the hospital was going to have. They have already had those meetings, and I've already taken over that group to the adult group. So it's a good collaboration. So we try to work really, really together with the hospital. So if everything happens in the society or the hospital society, they always call me or send me a text message. So I'll be there. And we try to get in touch, even though that we are not. If I know that I have a patient, because I call them my patient now, or member I should say, but I call them my patient. If I know that someone is in the hospital, during COVID, I was not allowed to go into the hospital, but now I can go however I want. If they call me anytime, I'll be there. I'll try to do my best just to see so that everyone are taken care of. So that's it. So that's it.